Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to Harping on Rugby, where with the help of some fellow fans, I get to harp on what's going on with Leinster, Ireland, and the wider rugby world. Now, this is our 367th podcast overall, but more importantly, it's the first episode of our 6 seasons of pods. We were posting our first offerings back in 2019. Leinster were on a quest for a fifth star. South Africa were top of the Rugby Championship, and Welsh fans dreamed of joining the Premiership. So who says a podcast can't move the needle, eh? And it goes without saying that over the course of those 6 seasons, we've had some excellent contributions from dozens of fans, though some have appeared more than others. And we've developed a core group of my fellow Leinster nerds. So you'll be hearing quite a bit from them over the coming weeks and months. But for this opening pod, where we'll be looking ahead to the upcoming campaign for the Boys in Blue, I'll be getting some relatively fresh input, beginning with someone who's making just his third Harping appearance. Welcome back to Mr. David Cordial.
Thanks, Jeff. Good to be here.
Great to have you. You're basically the wily old Harping veteran for this pod, as it turns out. So no pressure.
Good. No pressure felt.
Indeed. And also here is someone making his Harping debut. If you follow Leinster and Ireland Rugby on X/Twitter, you'll definitely know his work. But he describes himself as a Dubliner in London, part-time history boy, part-time sports nerd. He is described as top billed by leading journalists. A warm Harping and Rugby welcome to Mr. Hugo Gordon.
Thanks very much, Jeff. Thanks for having me on.
Great to have you. Great to have you both. Okay, gents, let's get down to business. Leinster open away to Embra on Friday evening. But before we turn our attention to that one fixture, we're going to take a more general look at our overall expectations of the province. I think it's fair to say that the vast majority of clubs across the three main leagues would be more than happy with one season reaching a Champions Cup final and a domestic semi-final, let alone three. But starting with yourself, David, that's just not how anyone associated with Leinster can be thinking, is it?
No, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you choose to look at it, Leinster are now in the unenviable position of feeling like they really should be achieving multiple Champions Cups and actually having none to show. So, going into this season on the back of now I think it's three final losses in a row, and then we include the other one at the immediately after our last win, and Leinster are in a situation now where winning a Champions Cup final is the minimum when it comes to success for the season, which is an absolutely insane thing to have to say. The real goal for them this season, as I think it was last season, is to win the double. If they win the Champions Cup, it will be a good season, but they will not feel that they have achieved what they want to achieve unless they win the double. And for those of us really looking forward to the regular season, what that unfortunately means, listening to other podcasts than this one, is that wins just won't cut it anymore. Leinster will be in a situation where they are expected to win. And I think going into the regular season, particularly in the URC, the only thing that could cause a blip in Leinster's radar is that they could register a couple of wins on their South Africa tour. Outside of that, I think the expectation will be that they win basically every game they play in the regular season, and expectations will not be met until the business end. And like I said, that depending on how you look at it, that's a good thing or bad thing. Personally, as a Leinster fan, I like to be operating at the high end of the season, but that is the high watermark that Leinster have set for themselves with their performances over the last few seasons, and it's what they're going to be aiming for in this one. So yeah, that's the unenviable position that Leinster find themselves in these days.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking back to after we won in Bilbao, and the team came back to Dublin, and they had a presentation. The team had a presentation at Donnybrook, and Eason Nasewa got up and he said, "Listen, I'm not happy with today. I'm not happy with this just now. We're celebrating today, but this is a team that can go on and win." And he actually went to the extremes. It's almost Donald Trump kind of extremes. He said we can win 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 more championships down the line. I mean, that was the kind of feeling we were having when we had we had that team back then. And like you say, we've gotten to finals, but now it's a stage where there's literally almost nothing we can do between now and until May, really, that make it look like this is a successful season. That's a lot of pressure to put on any club, even one where the standards are as high as Leinster's. What do you think, Hugo?
Yeah, I mean, as David said, it feels insane to say that the minimum is a Champions Cup, but the reality is that we've been in 3 finals in a row with one of the most expensively compiled and talented squads in world rugby, and each time we've come up short. I mean, we're talking about 7 points at the 80-minute mark is what separates us from 3 straight European titles, and we haven't come away with any of them, which is hard to take, and in a way, kind of the very disappointing performances in the URC have kind of contributed to a sense that we just haven't really been able to get over the line. I mean, we've been reached 3 straight European finals, but we haven't reached a final now in the URC in 4 years. And all this has really led to this feeling that when it comes down to it, for all the talent in the team, for whatever reason, we're not able to get over the line. And I think the reality is, if Leinster don't come away with silverware at the end of the season, URC at a minimum, but again, we really have to be looking at the European Cup again, then it is going to be seen as a disappointing season. It makes it a bit of a poison chalice. It feels, Leinster could achieve things that would make most teams view it as a very successful season this year, and the reality is it would be seen as a massive disappointment. That's a huge amount of pressure on the team. It's a huge amount of pressure on Leo Cullen, but it is unfortunately where we are.
Yeah, I mean, like we say, those are the standards we expect, and it's interesting. We touched on David touched on the South African tour. I mean, it's like, and the way the URC is developed, I mean, it's still an amazing competition, and it's really competitive. And where you finish on the ladder, even though the top team, I don't think the top team has won it yet, the team that finishes top, but that it still just shows how competitive it is, and you do need that kind of home advantage. So how Leinster go about that South African trip it could be key, and that could have cost us last season at least. But we already know going into this season that our South African trip is right after the 2025 Six Nations. So you can be guaranteed we're not bringing test players down there, whatever way the league stacks up. So we've got all that with the pressure and that fact that's going to hit us at the end of the Six Nations, wherever our standing in the league is. That's the kind of thing Leinster are up against. Now, I can't hear a lot of tears from coming outside of Leinster about that kind of pressure. But I'm just, amongst Leinster fans, I think it's important to just appreciate what we need to do. I mean, we do have those expectations. We do expect trophies at the end of the season. It's just that weight. I think we could literally have bonus point try wins every single game from now right up until the end of April, and it still won't mean a thing until we will have learned more about the individual players. We'll talk more about individual players later, but it's just that's basically what we're up against.